I'm carrying around the weight of two people. And there are two of me, in that there's a me I want to be and there's a me that I feel resigned to be.
With excessive hair and recurring spots, Katrina's size 20 body has been an emotional burden for most of her life.
It's just ugly, fat and hairy.
At the Diet Doctor's clinic, Dr. Wendy Denning and nutritionist Vicky Edson start by reading the outward signs of what's going wrong on the inside.
So, here we have Katrina's tongue. OK, so there's quite a bit of coating on this tongue. Absolutely. Well, that would indicate to me that there's a candida overgrowth in the intestinal tract, so probably a lot of yeast in the diet. I'll have to modify her eating plan quite considerably. A little pale on the sides here. So paleness generally indicates fatigue, tiredness, and sort of increased coloration in the centre there would be an indication perhaps there's a little bit of heat in the body. OK, and would that be a hormonal-related problem? It could be. Now, this is a severe tongue. What we're looking at here is a lot of white discoloration. You can see a much milder form of candida or imbalance of yeast in the gut, in all of us walking around, and quite possibly in Katrina.
Our digestive systems don't work properly when the good bacteria are outnumbered by the bad bacteria and yeast. Medications like antibiotics can cause this, as well as eating yeasty foods like bread and sugary foods that help yeast grow.
Let's have a look at the next thing, which is Katrina's spots. When we see spots, one thinks about hormonal imbalance, one thinks about digestive problem, and one thinks about possible zinc deficiency. So hormones is coming up all the time here. Obviously, this is going to be something we're going to have to check, as well as the very imbalanced digestion. Now, if it were to get that bad... Well, that is a terrible case. It is an indication of a severe hormonal imbalance. So to look at the final picture, this is Katrina's back hair. Wow, she's got quite a lot of hair, hasn't she, there? And it's quite long, actually. I mean, this is a pattern you'd see much more commonly in men. Now, you will see some downy hair in some women, but you don't usually see this degree of it. Based on everything we've seen now, with probably overweight, acne on the chin, body hair, I mean, we've got to be thinking about polycystic ovary disease. Now, I think this is one of the most disturbing pictures of all. Yes. This is severe hirsutism, or hairy face. And actually, I was convinced this was a man when I first saw this. But I understand that this is a woman. Wow, that is awful. But severe hirsutism is associated with excess testosterone, always. I think the overall overriding thing here is hormone imbalance. And probably some fine-tuning of the digestion.
Despite being a vegetarian, she finds it impossible to lose weight. She's dominated by an appetite that rules her life.
It's become the enemy. So as much as I try to be quite wholesome and organic and be kind to my body, it would almost be helpful if I never had to deal with food and eating.
Katrina has struggled again and again to control what she eats, right down to liquid-only diets.
Well, the first place we've got to visit is the major source of all your problems, your fridge.
At first glance, Katrina's fridge looks pretty good. She's a vegetarian and there are plenty of fresh fruit and vegetables. But this fridge contains hidden health risks. Only the green foods like courgettes and tofu are the safe sources of nutrients for Katrina. Amber foods like mushrooms and apples may be aggravating her yeast problem. And all the sweet and fatty red foods like ice cream are dangerous for Katrina.
You're a big pudding girl, aren't you?
I am.
What's going on here? Ice cream. Is this a favourite, perhaps?
Have an extensive collection, don't I?
Do you get sugar cravings at all?
Intense sugar cravings.
The sugary danger foods for Katrina are everywhere. And amongst the obvious culprits like ice cream nestle the hidden sugars, in the form of fruit yogurts, pre-packaged pizzas and fruit. And eating dairy products to get vegetarian proteins could be doing her more harm than good.
There's a very high percentage of dairy produce, and obviously as a vegetarian that's an important source of protein for you. But in your particular case with the hormonal imbalances that you've got, these have been found to aggravate some of the problems that you're suffering from. But obviously we've got to look at different sources in a much bigger variety, and that's one of my roles here.
The diet doctors need to help 17-stone Katrina Harris lose the weight and health problems that have been dragging her down for all of her adult life.
I want a chance to change everything and to see that it could be different.
One way that Katrina will lose weight: whatever she eats needs to be burned off by activity. A week before she arrived, the diet doctors asked Katrina to keep a detailed diet diary and wear a pedometer that measures her activity levels. And the calories going in far outnumbered the calories going out.
16,000 in and 8,000 out. And 8,000 out.
What does that give you?
I can do the math.
Very good.
So, you know, what we need to understand about this, obviously, is how that relates to putting on weight or the inability to lose weight.
The diet doctor's energy equation takes Katrina's weekly calorie intake and subtracts the calories she burns off as exercise. And all 8,000 of those calories that are left will be turned into fat. Katrina needs to get active.
And do more exercise, you will build more muscle in the body. As you have more muscle in the body, you will actually, at rest, burn more calories.
If Katrina wanted to eat all the contents of her fridge, she'd have to play 20 hours of tennis a week to burn off all those calories. But if she stayed at her current level of activity, she'd only need to eat 3 slices of this pizza to get through a whole day.
What we're aiming for is to get the balance between the calories in and the energy output.
Katrina's cravings for sugary foods and her erratic energy levels are warning signs that the hormone insulin is struggling to control her blood sugar. Combine these symptoms with mood swings, body hair and spots, and problems with the sex hormones also enter the picture.
Right, come and have a look at the images. This is actually quite interesting.
Wendy explains to Katrina about suspected polycystic ovaries.
This is the uterus here.
Right.
Okay, and then you've got these parts coming down here, the fallopian tubes.
Right.
And these are the ovaries.
Okay.
On either side.
A woman's ovaries produce 3 hormones that affect the body: estrogen, progesterone, and the male hormone testosterone. When the level of one hormone is wrong, it unbalances the whole cycle.
The cysts that are created in polycystic ovaries sit on the surface of the ovary like this. And they happen because when the follicle, which has got the egg in it, tries to release itself, it can't, and it gets encapsulated, and it, as a result of that, sits on the surface and creates a little lake around it.
Polycystic ovaries can result in difficulties conceiving, and the number of cases is rising.
Okay, so what we're looking at here is actually an ultrasound of the ovary. You see all these little black?
Yeah.
That is what a polycystic ovary looks like.
Okay.
What happens is the polycystic ovary, the cysts actually develop when you don't ovulate. And so the ovary gets overstimulated. That ongoing stimulation will cause your body to produce more estrogen and testosterone. Now, testosterone, if it's not handled well in the body, will actually create what we call the male features in the body. And so you tend to get a bit of a beard here, you tend to get hair on the arms, and you tend to get hair in a male pattern on the body. People with polycystic ovary disease are 7 times more likely to develop diabetes. And the reason for that is that they don't handle insulin well in the body. We're not quite sure which comes first. There's controversy about which comes first. It's probably a combination of both. These days, very often we use drugs or diet or a combination of those to actually get the body to handle insulin better.
So in effect what you're saying is that there are people out there who've been diagnosed with diabetes because they were not diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome.
Well, you've made the leap.
Wow.
Anyone of Katrina's size who eats lots of sugary foods could develop diabetes. Diabetes is the failure of the body to manage the hormone insulin properly. When we eat sugars, they enter the blood system to fuel the body. With sweet foods, sugar quickly builds up, often giving us an energy rush. But high sugar levels are dangerous, so the body produces insulin to push them down and make them safe. When blood sugar suddenly drops, energy and mood drop too. But appetite goes up, making us want to eat more sugar to bring the energy high back. This sends the body off on the energy roller coaster all over again. The more we do this, the more the body struggles to manage insulin levels, and this can result in diabetes. Before Wendy starts investigating Katrina's diet and hormone issues, she gives her a full examination, checking her circulatory system, breathing, internal organs and joints.
These, and then, does that bother you?
No.
Okay, and that one?
That's a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's the hip, actually.
Yeah.
2.
Finally, taking a record of Katrina's fitness and vital statistics. Wendy suspects that inadequate minerals in Katrina's diet may be making her sugar cravings worse. Time for the mineral taste test.
It's very common to be mineral deficient. And the thing about mineral deficiency is if you're mineral deficient, your vitamins don't work properly in your body. The reason I'm particularly suspecting that you might have a problem with this, you have a hormonal imbalance, that's quite clear. And we're going to actually test for the minerals. I think we'll start with chromium, because I'm absolutely certain you have a blood sugar balancing problem, and chromium is such an important mineral with regards to that.
Chromium helps the body control its sugar balance so it can keep sugar cravings at bay. Refined sugar and white flour contain no chromium and drain the body's store of it, making cravings even worse. Good sources of chromium include eggs, chicken, green peppers and spinach.
What I want you to tell me is, does it taste sweet, pleasant, no taste, don't like, awful? Okay. There are actually 7 categories, but try and graduate it for me. Give me some idea in those groups as to which one that one is.
Okay. No taste.
Not surprised.
Aren't you?
No. That's it. That actually means you're very deficient in it.
Okay.
If Katrina's chromium deficiency reached chronic levels, she could develop cold sweats, drowsiness and constant thirst.
I test almost every patient that walks in the door in one way or another. And I find that 90% of people are deficient in minerals. There's many ways in which we can become deficient with our lifestyle.
Katrina's sugary diet and weight could make her develop diabetes and polycystic ovaries. Wendy can check for this with a simple test kit. These sticks reveal whether there's excess sugar in the urine, a sure sign that insulin has lost control.
And we can see that yours is normal or a negative for glucose in the urine, which is very reassuring.
Had I taken that test at home and found some glucose in my urine, what should I do?
You would need to go down and discuss it with the doctor, because it could indicate that you have a problem with the high blood sugar and therefore potentially could be a diabetic.
Right.
But the good news is, in your particular case, you're not.
Katrina's high dairy diet means she eats lots of fats. These, along with sugar and hormones, all have to be processed by her liver. Wendy and Vicky need to demonstrate why she could already be on the way to developing non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
Here we have a normal liver.
Oh, that's making me really heave. I don't like meat anyway, so it just...
Breathe. Breathing.
But don't, you know, you can turn away to breathe it in. I'm having problems with it too. We're going to do this very quickly.
Okay, so that's actually what a normal liver looks like. Now, the reason we're showing you this is because we're concerned about your liver, which isn't quite so normal. And what we've got is what we call non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in your case, or you're moving in that direction. Now, the liver is responsible for fatty acid synthesis.
And if you haven't got good fatty acid synthesis, then you get an accumulation of fats going on in the liver. 32% of adults in the US, when they die, have fatty liver disease. Highly associated with being overweight.
Liver disease is often associated with alcohol, but the non-alcoholic form affects more of the world's population. High doses of fats and sugars can kill liver cells, just like alcohol.
So you end up with little nodules on the surface of the liver. These nodules are composed of cells that are dying and cells that are overactive in terms of creating new cells.
All those sweet hidden sugar foods can all contribute to this in the same way that alcohol would in somebody who was drinking a lot. So, as ghastly and hideous as this is, it's a reality.
So what you're actually saying is that even though I don't drink, my liver could end up looking like that?
There is a definite potential that it could end up like that, and that's why we need to intervene at this moment.
Now that Katrina understands the damage that her diet could have on her internal systems, it's time for Vicky to examine the damage they've caused on the outside of her body.
What I'm looking at here is jawline spots, and I'm also looking at obviously some facial hair, generally indicative of hormone imbalances. When did you first develop excess facial hair?
I was 10 years old, so it'd be 27 years ago. I had a sort of dark moustache pretty much overnight, really, from the moment I started menstruating.
Can I just ask you, how do you remove the hair? Do you pluck it?
I have to now. I have to pluck it on a daily basis.
See, what's concerning me when I look at this, obviously, is areas where you're having to pluck on a frequent basis, you're also getting the spots. And it's aggravating all that tissue around there. So we've got quite a strong pattern of hair growth here. In fact, you can see how close together the hair follicles are on the legs. It's really... This is, I have to tell you, very typical of what we would look at in somebody with polycystic ovaries or another estrogen-dominant condition.
For Katrina, the strain of living with these symptoms for 27 years never gets easier.
Probably one of the hardest parts about all of this to deal with, isn't it? Other than the weight.
Katrina's blood and stool sample results are in, and Wendy and Vicky's suspicions about hormone imbalances are confirmed, with high levels of insulin and testosterone and low levels of progesterone. There's also an overgrowth of yeast in the digestive system, another reason for sugar cravings.
The yeast imbalance that you have in your gut is one of the causes of your sugar cravings.
Right.
Because what makes yeast grow is sugar, so they make you take sugar in order for them to sustain life.
Okay. I feel quite relieved, actually.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
I don't just feel that I've been really greedy and wanted all of those foods. I feel like there's actually an explanation for it all.
Absolutely. The good news is we can treat it.
We can treat it.
Right?
Katrina's bowel test revealed something altogether more gruesome.
We found you had 2 parasites in the gut. One is a very common parasite. We see it in probably 15% of the population, and that's something called Blastocystis hominis.
Sounds dreadful.
And the other one was something which is much less common, and is something called Dientomoeba fragilis.
Because a lot of foods and shellfish and live fish and things like that are transported by air. So nowadays we're actually able in restaurants and in some supermarkets to be buying foods that have literally been transported within a 24-hour period. And as the more accessible those foods become, the greater the risk we now have with parasites that we would never normally see in our own country.
Yeah.
It's okay, it doesn't mean you are literally crawling.
I feel invaded now. Yeah.
If I told you how many bacteria you had in the gut, you'd definitely feel invaded. A lot of those are meant to be there, aren't they?
That's true. That is definitely true.
Time to take action on Katrina's forbidden foods. First, out with the cake, because sweet things upset her blood sugar, increasing fat and straining the liver. Fatty dairy products like cheese also make the liver work hard, as well as contributing to difficulties balancing sex hormones. Out with her limited vegetarian proteins. Katrina's not getting the variety of quality proteins she needs. And no more yeasty foods like raised breads. She already has too much yeast growing in her digestive system. Her parasites will be treated later, when her liver has less detoxing to do. And when Katrina gets her new diet plan, she needs to get moving, at least 10,000 steps a day. Katrina has a lot of adjustments to make to her lifestyle back home, not least of which is a whole new menu.
We do nice things now, like butternut squash roasted in the oven with onions and garlic and pumpkin seeds. I mean, I wouldn't have known what a butternut squash was, to be quite truthful.
Katrina Harris needs to change to a healthier diet and lifestyle before it's too late. But now the diet doctors have given her an action plan to regain her health and happiness, starting with a whole new diet. From now on, Katrina can set herself up for the day with porridge made from soya milk, plus low-sugar fruits, mixed nuts and seeds. At lunchtime, brown rice can be made into risotto. Dinner times are a chance to try a bigger variety of vegetarian proteins in mixed bean casseroles. Eating vegetables like broccoli, which is rich in plant estrogens, will help balance her hormones. Katrina's prescribed the drug metformin and chromium supplements to balance blood sugar and lessen weight gain over the long term. The herb saw palmetto helps Katrina reduce excess testosterone, and acidophilus combats yeast. 1 week into Katrina's new regime, it's time to find out how she's coping with her sugar-balancing medication metformin. Indigestion is a possible side effect of this, and the diet doctors have noticed that Katrina's eating patterns and activity levels are not what they should be.
Having a bit of a rough time with the metformin?
Had like queasiness and diarrhoea for about 4 or 5 days, and that was on 1 tablet.
And you're feeling a little rough now? No, you're better now. Good. Excellent. Good. Okay. Well, we wanted to ask you about your exercise.
The exercise hasn't gone as well as it should have done, mainly because I had those days when I just felt so queasy and unwell on the metformin.
Still doesn't quite explain why there were 400 steps in the morning. There was none between 1 and 2.
Do you know why? It fell off and I didn't realise. The pedometer fell off.
We want to see these steps go up and not down.
Katrina's favourite comfort food was ice cream, a big no-no for dieters. It conceals a double calorie curse of high fat content and sugar, which have a devastating effect on the body. This is investigated in our controversial dieting experiment, force-feeding a healthy volunteer with litres of ice cream for 2 weeks. Here is our human lab rat.
Hi, my name's Sonia and I'm this week's human lab rat. I'm a trained gymnast. I'm a qualified fitness instructor. I teach aerobics and yoga. I'm also a qualified dancing teacher. Well, here is my lab rat challenge. I'm going to open it up and see what I have to do. Our contributor, Katrina Harris, eats up to 2 tubs of ice cream a day. We will test what this does to your body by challenging you to eat 3 tubs of ice cream every day for 2 weeks. Oh God, I think my teeth are going to rot and I'm going to put on about 2 stone.
As a professional model and actress, Sonia's risking a lot by subjecting her body to this. Her normal diet and lifestyle must remain the same, but her ice cream input over the next 2 weeks will mean the equivalent of a bucket full of sugar and a kitchen sink full of fat.
I think actually there's a whole day's supply of calories in just one of these.
This is definitely not for the faint-hearted.
Oh my God. Not just calories, but E's and preservatives and additives and sugar.
Where will it end for this super fit body? It's 4 weeks into Katrina's new action plan. Wendy and Vicky have arranged a second consultation with Katrina to make sure she's getting the maximum benefit from her treatment.
You look really, really marvellous. How are you feeling?
I feel really good, really alive.
Tell me about your skin.
My skin's calmed down a lot because I'm not having to pluck so often. The last time that I'm aware of having peachy skin and sparkling eyes and actually having some energy is when I was pregnant.
Really?
And you said before that might be because it was the only time that progesterone was present in the amount that it should be.
As a teacher, Katrina thought she was active, but her pedometer reading shows she's still doing well below the minimum target of 10,000 steps a day.
It is really important that we get the exercise stepped up for several different reasons. It's obviously important for weight loss. But more important than that, it's so important to get this liver detoxed. So the sluggish liver is going to be hugely improved by the more exercise you do. But also for your brain chemicals. And you've been on a bit of one of these roller coasters, haven't you? And the quickest way to stabilise that out is to get the whole level of the brain chemicals up.
And at the end of the day, we predict that you'll probably have made some fairly major and significant lifestyle changes and choices.
The other really important thing we need to be thinking about in terms of stopping this business is staying with the metformin. And now I know that you've had some days where you've thought, I don't ever want to see this drug again. But it does really help balance the hormones out. As you see your weight dropping, you will find that your body becomes much more sensitized to insulin and can handle insulin much more appropriately. Do you get a lot of gas and bloating still?
Sometimes a bit gassy.
Not totally surprised because you've still got those parasites that we talked about, and as you know we decided we weren't going to treat them because we wanted to focus on other things. So I think it's not totally surprising, and I think we'll get your health so much better with your hair and your hormones and your weight loss, and then at a later stage we can think about treating the parasites.
Sonia, the human lab rat, has taken Katrina's diet to the limit. Eating 3 litres of ice cream a day may seem like a pleasant way to spend a fortnight, and Sonia breezed through the first couple of days. But soon, trouble is brewing.
I managed to do 3 tubs yesterday, and I'm not sure if I can do the same today because I'm feeling pretty sick. This is evening of day 4. I've ate 3 tubs of ice cream and I've thrown my guts up.
By day 6, the side effects are creeping into new parts of Sonia's body.
Like all around here, I'm having quite sharp pains. Up here, I've got indigestion, so everything's quite gassy and tight in here. With my back, it feels really heavy. That could have something to do with the constipation. I just feel like a slob.
Sugar and fat are draining Sonia's immune system of the nutrients that keep it healthy, and there are precious few in ice cream.
I really have had enough now. My immunity seems to have dropped completely. I've got a really sore throat. My skin feels really dull. I've got constant bloatedness in my stomach.
The more fatty and sweet ice cream that Sonia eats, the harder her liver has to work to break it down.
I'm suffering from insomnia, lack of sleep, but I'm really tired as well, which I can't quite work out. I feel like I need to sleep all the time, but then I try and sleep and I can't.
After 10 days on the white stuff, Sonia finds it's getting in the way of her work.
Everyone's shocked that I'm sitting doing this. I have actually noticed my tongue is changed in colour. When I first started this, it was quite pink and healthy. Now it's got a bit of a white coating on it. My cuticles seem to be like inflamed.
Sonia knows ice cream is no health food, but even she is shocked when she weighs up the ingredients for herself.
What concerned me the most was the fat content. And in just one of these, 1 litre of ice cream, there's 80 grams of fat. That is it. That is exactly 80 grams. 3 times of that which is pure full-fat butter, is what is going into my body.
Only 2 days left, but Sonia's system is rejecting her so-called treats.
My insides are rotten and I keep getting the hiccups. I feel really heavy and bloated. I'm sure I put weight on. Can't wait until the challenge is over. I've only got 2 days left and I just can't wait.
After 2 weeks, it's back to the clinic for a health check, and it's not looking good. Sonia's heart rate has risen from 58 beats per minute to 72. Her body fat has gone up from 23% to 25.5%. And perhaps most worrying of all for a model, her waist measurement is up from 72 centimetres to 80 centimetres.
I was incredibly surprised how rapidly your body can actually deteriorate in just 2 weeks. I'm going to get back to the gym to get back in shape so that I can go back and be Angelina Jolie's body double.
Katrina's been adapting to her new diet and lifestyle for almost 10 weeks now, and she's finally giving the pedometer a workout. She's beginning to build a sense of control over her body. Now she's free to turn her attention to the emotional difficulties she's had since problems with her body took over her life. After 12 weeks of treatment, Katrina is leaving the past behind. As a reward for all her hard work, the diet doctors have arranged for some complementary therapy to give her an additional lift. Mama is an ancient Indian massage technique believed to clear away blockages between the mind and body.
You can feel when I'm massaging in here, you can feel it's very, very tender. It's because this is the one which is totally blocked.
Mama is held to have particular benefits for the nervous system and hormones.
But because of the hormone is affected, your vitality has disappeared. Whenever the vitality is there, then your interest becomes of everything. When the interest increases, vitality increases. Working on your nerves, sending the messages to your brain, tell to the brain to behave and wake up and look after the body. It's like a mind over matter.
It feels a little bit like rain falling on your head.
Now you got a more pink color on your face.
It's quite a lot of pressure, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is pressure because you're using years and years those sort of the nervous tension within you. So then you look at yourself in the mirror now.
Wow.
You can see from the eyes. When the eyes open up, everything is open.
Wow, that was fantastic. I just feel totally chilled and high, just really kind of giggly and high. Just kept feeling like I wanted to laugh when I was up there. It's that real, like, high energy laughter sort of therapy. It's brilliant.
Just 3 months ago, Katrina had reached rock bottom. She had to make some big adjustments to embrace a whole new lifestyle. So, has it worked for her? In their last session at the clinic, Wendy and Vicky examine the evidence to see just how far she's come.
OK, we've got the tongue. We're looking here at the size of the tongue, the colour of the tongue and the coating of the tongue. And that's a big tongue, which is an indicator of possible digestive problems. It's pale, which would suggest she's fatigued, and coating coming all the way down the tongue, again, an indicator of digestive problems.
Not really a very healthy tongue. Should we see how she's improved?
Well, first and foremost, you can see there that the tongue is smaller. Clearly, digestion has improved. The coating is less. I would say that there's real improvement there.
Good. So moving on, we now have all the spottiness that she had under the chin area and slightly around the chin as well.
And that's those spots go with polycystic ovaries and usually are in people in general an indicator of either hormone imbalance or digestive problems.
Absolutely. Now let's see what the oh my goodness, that's fantastic.
That is much better. Now that is great because you've still got the odd little spot here, but they're not nearly as prominent.
Or not nearly as livid either. I mean, they're really, you know, they're not as inflamed, they're not sort of suppurating where they were before. Ooh, okay.
Do you remember her hair before we started?
I certainly do.
It was really thick, and she was plucking her hair out every day. I mean, poor girl.
So should we see what improvements we've got?
Now that I am absolutely thrilled with. Those thick male hairs have gone, and she's left with these quite gentle, light, fair, coloured hairs, much less in quantity.
No, that's fantastic.
Fabulous improvement.
She must be thrilled.
When it comes to exercise, the results haven't been quite so impressive. Even in her final week, Katrina is still struggling to meet the minimum government-recommended level.
What we're looking at here is her activity levels week 1 of this programme and then comparing it to week 12 of the programme. And, I mean, there is a gradual step up.
Yes.
You can see that. However, I have to say that weeks 2, 3, 5 were lower than I think is acceptable. I think 2 processes were going on there. Well, number 1, she was having a detoxification because of a rapid change in diet.
That's true.
And also she was trying the medication, which didn't actually agree with her at the beginning.
That's true.
And she had to get used to it. But I think overall, the total for a week should be 70,000, and she's only finally just made it on the final week.
I know. Amazing.
It's a pity, actually.
Just need to give her a bit of a stick about the exercise.
Bit of encouragement.
Wendy and Vicky haven't seen Katrina face-to-face for 2 months. They now need to see her with no makeup, so there'll be no hiding the real results.
Here she is.
Look at you!
Oh, how are you?
Oh, you look fantastic.
You look so
glowing. Look at you. Have a seat.
Look at you. Take a seat.
I'm up at about 6:30 and probably to bed again by about 10:30, and the whole of the time that I'm awake, I'm really awake.
Do you feel more youthful?
I just feel silly and naughty and cheeky. Yeah, just really alive.
Your spots have completely gone from what I can see.
Yeah, they have.
And that you must be thrilled about.
Oh, it's just lovely to be able to... Some mornings I can just wash my face and, you know, nip to the shop without having to think constantly of covering up areas that I'm not pleased with, so that's really special. But the biggest benefit that I didn't expect was the sort of mental repair, just being able to cope with situations, you know, in a very calm, very controlled way.
You had what we describe as a sluggish liver. Now, in Chinese medicine, they view the liver as the seat of anger. If you get the liver balanced, then you are much less likely to have these emotional eruptions.
Can you ever remember feeling this good?
If I'm absolutely honest, no, I can't remember feeling this good. It's a real freedom, it's a real escape.
So in a sense, for you, the weight loss is a secondary benefit.
I'm not even thinking about the weight loss.
People always associate, or often associate, weight loss with happiness. I think actually you've got to find your own happiness and yourself in order to be able to let go of the weight. And so many people are actually hanging on to their weight for all kinds of reasons of protection, anger, defence, whatever it might be. And your weight is coming off, as Wendy says, in a secondary way.
And the nice thing about that is you'll probably just keep that up.
And I plan to.
Time for one final checkup. Katrina's yeast is on the retreat.
It's marvellous.
The beneficial effects of exercise are shown in everything from heart rate to blood pressure.
It's a very healthy blood pressure.
Her low chromium levels were making it harder for her to balance blood sugar and control sugar cravings.
It's great that you've got your chromium levels back to normal.
But are the vital statistics heading the right way too?
What have we got, Vicky?
Well,
I know this is only a secondary benefit to you, but it should be pretty impressive. Right. Your bust size was 51.5 inches, and it's now 48. So you've lost 3.5 inches off your bust size. Your waist was 44, and it's now 42. So this is all slimming down and trimming nicely. And your hips were at 52.5, and they're now at 49.5. So you've lost 3 inches off your hips. That's great. It's just great.
That's great.
And this is before we've even weighed you. This is in inches. And that's significant.
Now, what we're going to do is get you on the scales.
Katrina hasn't weighed herself for 3 months, so this is the moment of truth for everybody.
15 stone.
That is fantastic. Can you remember what you were in the beginning?
I was 16.11.
Yes, so you've lost nearly 2 stone in total. It's fantastic. Are you happy?
I'm very happy.
As a child, Katrina was a bubbly extrovert who wanted to be a performer. But her body issues changed her into a shy individual who withdrew from life.
Lovely.
Now, however, she knows she can beat the demons that have been holding her back. It's time to make the most of the new, outgoing Katrina. Wendy and Vicky wait for the unveiling of Katrina's new image.
Come in, Katrina. Wow!
Hello.
You look really fabulous.
Thank you.
Wow.
Now let me ask you something. Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, or possibly even your nightmares, think that you could be here, dressed up like this, looking amazing, and doing your own photo shoot?
Not really inside 12 weeks. I would have said 12 months, but not inside 12 weeks.
You look $1 million.
Yeah, doesn't she?
Oh,
You look
just
wonderful.
fantastic.
The eyes are so bright, skin so clear.
I've arrived.
I've arrived. Isn't that fantastic, honestly? Well, we've brought you to this point. All this sort of 12 weeks has been to bring you to a point where maybe for the first time in your life, maybe not, you are going to, this evening, have your own photo shoot.
Okay.
Give it some attitude.
Lovely.